If you're currently pregnant, it's a legal mandate in over 30 states that you know about this. So the law that we're talking about is that your OB-GYN has a legal mandate to inform you about your rights and options on what to do with your umbilical cord and placenta. I call her Placentia. She is a placenta and umbilical cord that I bought off of Etsy, a plushie. Not even life-size, real placentas are larger, but Placentia is going to help me explain to you why this law is so important and what it means. Basically, the law that we're talking about is that OB-GYN should tell you about the fact that you can freeze your umbilical cord and placenta for its stem cells and be able to save them to use for future disease treatment purposes in case anyone in your family ever gets sick. Here is why this law is so relevant to me and my family and why it's so important to you. So here's a quick little story to help you remember what we're talking about and understand it a little bit better. So when I was 3 and my brother was 1, he was in a near drowning accident that gave him cerebral palsy. He basically walked into a lake and nobody was looking. We were with my grandparents. My grandparents thought my parents were watching him. My parents thought my grandparents were watching him. And I was 3 and had a fever, so people were also watching me. So we walked into a lake and then had a near drowning accident. He was underwater for quite some time. And when they found him, then he was helicoptered to a hospital. Previously, he was completely healthy, and then all of a sudden he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy and he couldn't walk or talk. Doctors said that he was a vegetable, which to this day is a term that I honestly really hate. My mom always taught me about the meaning of unconditional love and the fact that no matter what someone's abilities are, you should really treat them as a person. So I just always hated the word vegetable. I feel like it's super dehumanizing. So my parents began looking into treatments for cerebral palsy, and they found this study by Dr. Joanne Kurtzberg showing that children with cerebral palsy were able to receive their own umbilical cord blood back into their body. So it was an autologous treatment, meaning that they were receiving their own into their body, and they were seeing motor and social skill improvements in those children. And so basically what happened was when those babies were born, a needle was put into the umbilical cord and the blood inside of the umbilical cord was collected. And in certain cases, the cord tissue, AKA the cord itself, was also collected for its stem cells, and the placenta was collected for its stem cells as well. Because of that, they always had these really potent stem cells, and a lot of people don't know this, but the umbilical cord and placenta is one of the most rich resources of stem cells because it literally spends 9 months creating a baby. So it would make sense that this is rich with stem cells too, right? And so stem cells are basically blank cells, and they can be used to replace and repair damaged cells. So the fact that you can freeze stem cells from the umbilical cord and placenta is something that's really, really special. The main other source of stem cells is your bone marrow, but this in particular is really potent. So those families were freezing their own stem cells right at birth, keeping them, and then when their children were diagnosed with anything, like cerebral palsy, then they were able to use those stem cells back into their body and be able to see regeneration of their damaged cells. And so that was able to improve motor and social skills in those kids. So my family did not save my stem cells or my brother's. In fact, my brother had his the cord wrapped around his neck, and so yeah, it just wasn't even something that my mom knew about, because back then those 30 states weren't under that law where OB-GYNs had to let you know about this as an option. So my mom didn't know about it. She didn't freeze our stem cells. And then when my brother was diagnosed with cerebral palsy and we found the Duke University study, my mom began looking for stem cells from someone else, but we couldn't find a match, and it's usually really difficult to find a match if you're a person of color or mixed race. And that is because most donors are solicited in really high income areas. And so the donor pool for cord blood is skewed really white, and most matches tend to be ethnically aligned. And so because of that, if you are a person of color or mixed race, it's generally really difficult to find a match. So these stats are from Be The Match. Be the Match is a cord blood donation organization, and basically they keep all of these statistics on how difficult it is to find a match. So my family never got around to finding a match, and so I've always been exposed to how important cord blood is, and I've also always been exposed to the fact that it can be really difficult, and it's just yet another major healthcare hurdle that POC and Black folks have to face. So I founded Anja Health because I wanted to make sure that everyone always had access to their own stem cells. I founded it when my brother passed away. His name was Andrew, and so I wanted to do something that would have been able to benefit him. So I founded Anja Health, named after Andrew, and am now on a mission to make sure that you all are informed of your options and the importance of being able to keep your own stem cells. So earlier I mentioned Be the Match. Donation is definitely a really good option, but personally I would go with banking and keeping your own stem cells, because if you donate, then you're giving it to someone else and doesn't guarantee that you could ever get it back. But if you bank your own, it's like freezing eggs or sperm. It's your own family's, and it is a 100% match for your child, a 50% match for parents, and a 75% match for siblings. So I personally would go with that, just so you always have your own stem cells banked with you and with your family. So here is how it works. Basically, the first step is you would get one of our kits. This is an Anja Health stem cell collection kit. I'm zooming in on our illustration on the front that shows all different types of families. We wanted to make sure that all families felt seen. So yeah, we just tried to think of every type of family that there could be, and we even have a little provider, and we have our little Anja lamb. I named the lamb Anja, obviously. But this is the kit that you would need. So we recommend getting this kit at around 30 weeks. But if you're seeing this now and you are before 30 weeks, then I would still recommend getting it now. We'll wait until 30 weeks to send it to you, but I would just order it now so you don't forget. And if you're after 30 weeks, I would definitely get it now. If you're giving birth really soon, we have gotten a kit to someone when they're already 4 centimeters dilated. So we have emergency kits stationed throughout the US. So if you think it's too late, it's not. You should still get a kit. So this is the first step, is getting the kit. Then the second step is bringing it with you to birth. So you want to bring it with you to birth because you will need it right at birth. As soon as the umbilical cord and the placenta pops out, you want to make sure that you have this kit because it has all of the tools that you need to be able to collect stem cells. So here's what's inside of our kit. The instructions that go we both have instructions for parents, and then we also have instructions for providers. And so it just shows how the collection works, but basically what happens is first you will get out this cord blood bag, and there's a needle right here. It's protected for safety purposes. So you have this needle, and when the umbilical cord comes out, you want to stick it in the umbilical cord vein. It's very clear what it will be. It looks kind of bluish against the more like this color consistency. So you stick it in the cord blood vein. You want to dangle it so that it flows, gravity does its thing, and it flows into this bag. We recommend collecting at least 40 milliliters. And if you do delayed cord clamping, you can do delayed cord clamping typically for 2 minutes or less and still get 40 milliliters of the recommended cord blood collection. And then you can also collect cord tissue. So then we recommend cutting off about 6 to 8 inches of your cord and then placing it in this jar. And then putting the placenta in this jar. And then we also collect samples of the birth parent's blood, so typically the mother, or a surrogate or something like that. So in these vials to be able to screen for disease. So it's very similar to donating blood. And then you basically stick it all back in the kit. And then the third step is you call us for pickup. We will come to wherever you are in the United States. Yes, Alaska, yes, Hawaii, yes, remote areas. We've literally done it all. So we'll come to wherever you are, we'll pick it up. A courier will literally come to your room or meet your nurse in the lobby or anything like that, or your home or birth center, wherever you're giving birth. And then they will take this kit. It is ready to ship and it seals itself. There's also insulation inside that I mentioned, and they will just take it with them and it will head to our lab based in New Jersey. And that is where it is processed and frozen at negative 190 degrees Celsius. So that's why, unfortunately, you can't do it at home. You want it to be frozen at negative 190 degrees Celsius because that is how the stem cells live. It's a very similar process to freezing eggs or sperm. Those are also frozen at negative 190 degrees Celsius in tanks with vapor nitrogen. So it's a very sensitive process, and that is why you can't do it at home. So now let's move on to why you would want to do this and what you can do with these stem cells. A lot of cord blood banks only collect the cord blood and cord tissue, which does allow you to get a lot of stem cells, but you can see physically the placenta is very large. Some placentas are even bigger than placentae over here. So you can get a great volume of stem cells. And you can use placenta, cord tissue, cord blood stem cells to treat different diseases. I'm not gonna say that it treats every disease, but in my experience working in this industry, whenever someone brings up a disease to me, I will always Google the disease and then cord blood stem cells, or the disease cord tissue stem cells, the disease placenta stem cells. And usually there's at least some early indication that research has been done on this, because cord blood, cord tissue, and placenta stem cells are so powerful, so regenerative, that people turn to it when they're facing issues and they're just looking for regeneration, especially when it's your own stem cells. It depends on the disease, but generally there's very little risk in receiving your own stem cells back into your body. So when you have your own, that is why banking is so important, because you are 100% match for it. So parents are 50% match and siblings are 75% match, but the baby themselves is 100% match, which is really powerful. So a match is required for the cord blood stem cells, and the cord tissue and placenta stem cells don't require a match, but they're still really potent. So what can you do with these stem cells? Well, as I mentioned earlier, you can use it for cerebral palsy. You can also use it for HIV. This past month, actually, the 5th person ever was cured of HIV and leukemia. In fact, they use it for their leukemia treatment because they used cord blood stem cells and they had HIV. Cancer is another really common use case, especially leukemias. Multiple sclerosis is another common use case. In fact, Selma Blair from Legally Blonde, she used cord blood stem cells, and there are 85 plus diseases that are FDA approved to use cord blood as a treatment. So those include a lot of different types of cancers, metabolic disorders, things like sickle cell anemia. Stem cells have also been used for, and increasingly the placenta and cord tissue stem cells are being used in addition to the cord blood. So for instance, this story right here is a story about Quentin, a young boy who used his sister's cord blood and placenta stem cells to help treat his own cancer. So the placenta is so large that it contains so many stem cells. So why not sort of amp up the treatment that you're doing by supplementing it with placenta stem cells? So those are just a few of the diseases that cord blood, cord tissue, and placenta stem cells have been used for. But as you can tell, I'm very passionate about it. It's just such an amazing space. It's constantly advancing. The research is constantly growing. So it's really special and super amazing. So now I wanted to top it off by showing you what our OB-GYN advisors and doula have had to say about it. Dr. Chang and Dr. Rogers are OB-GYN advisors. Dr. Rogers is also a TikToker. She has about 1 million, so you may have seen her before. But she specializes in IVF. She also banked for her kids, and then Dr. Chang banked for his kids. He was an OB-GYN at Cedars-Sinai, and now he is working at Billion to One, being on the front line of cutting-edge research related to genetic and prenatal testing. And fun fact, if you do move forward with Billion to One and you test positive for certain diseases like sickle cell anemia, they will actually cover your first year of banking. So here is what Dr. Chang had to say. Yeah, so the first question is, what do you see as the future of stem cell science?
Oh, well, I mean, in the distant future, I think a lot of these genetic conditions are all going to be cured using gene therapy, or be filtered out with pre-implantational genetic diagnoses and embryo selection. But stepping stone to that would be everyone would need to, well, ideally have their cord blood available, and then using gene therapy modify the stem cells, both the hematopoietic stem cells and the mesenchymal stem cells, with the ultimate plan for autologous transplants to basically cure whatever ailment you were born with.
Cool. And I know you said you mentioned you bank the cord blood and cord tissue. So what about the placenta stem cells? Have you seen, what would you say today if a parent was considering placenta stem cells as well?
Yeah, I think that's, totally fine. I think ultimately you want as many, you want more than just hematopoietic stem cells. I think for a long time, the focus was right around hematopoietic stem cells, but it's really mesenchymal stem cells. I'll probably be responsible for a bulk of the future breakthroughs, whereas a lot of the hematopoietic stem cells have kind of already proven themselves, at least in my opinion. There's enough almost like a minimal viable product where, there's already proof of concept, and we're beyond that. There's even FDA approved treatments using gene therapy on hematopoietic stem cells. So really it's the promise that we can see the same kind of success using the mesenchymal stem cells.
So what do you see as the future of stem cell science?
So I think we hopefully are going to be finding more and more diseases that can be treated or even cured with stem cells. And I'm hopeful that the science on that expands to really help more and more people who are suffering from different sorts of diseases.
I know that you banked for your kids. So what was it that was communicated to you that made you optimistic about cord blood and its uses? And specifically, what made you want to bank instead of donate?
So first of all, when my oldest was born almost 16 years ago, I don't think there were, I don't think you could donate back then. Like there was really no options that I had to donate. So there wasn't sort of, I know there's a lot of, state banks and other things. There wasn't even that option. So I didn't really have that option. The other thing is it's always good to donate. But I also think that, if you're looking at needing stem cells, obviously a child's own stem cells can often be used, or siblings are going to be a much closer match than somebody random. And I think I would be a little nervous about if I needed them for myself, not being able to use them, because maybe it would have been a match for someone else and it would have already been donated or something. I think that one of the things that scared me the most, it was taking care. It's horrible, right? You take care of patients who've had children who have childhood cancers like leukemia, that kind of thing. And that obviously has, that's a current use for stem cells, right? So that is something that even 16 years ago when I banked blood for my first child, that, the thought of having a child with cancer was very scary. And even though the chances of cancer certainly are low, they're not nothing. And I felt like this was one thing I could do as an insurance policy, so that God forbid my child were to have a devastating diagnosis like leukemia or lymphoma and needed a transplant, that they could be their own, get a transplant from themselves. And so that, I think, was one of the main reasons why I decided that I wanted to bank cord blood, mainly for the, potential treatment of cancer down the road. God forbid one of my children were to be diagnosed.
Alrighty, so hopefully that covers all of your questions related to cord blood banking and gives you a really clear overview as to why this is something that you should definitely consider if you're currently pregnant. So I hope that this was really helpful. Shout out to all the Anja Angels for watching and consuming all of this content. Hope this answered your questions. Be sure to like and subscribe, and if you are currently pregnant or know someone who is, then definitely share this with them. Make sure to get your kit ASAP. And we will see you in your delivery room through our kit. Me and Placentia. Have a great day. Bye. Hello, Anja Angels. My name is Kathryn. I am the founder of Anja Health, so I wanted to personally thank you for watching this video. If there were any specific moments that you liked, then we ask that you comment the timestamp of that moment in the comment section. And of course, like and subscribe if you like this video. We have a ton more pregnancy and parenting and birth provider resources on this channel, in addition to our other social channels. You can find us on Facebook at Anja Health, on Twitter at Anja Health, on TikTok at Anja Health, and at Kathryn Anja. That is my personal TikTok where I talk about Anja Health. You can also text us at 310-620-1663. Yes, it is always a real person. And lastly, we have a free community for those that are interested in pregnancy, birth, or cord blood banking. So you can join us there at anjahealth.com/community. And then lastly, we have a podcast, the Better Birth Podcast by Anja Health. So we would definitely love to meet and see you on any of those channels, whichever one is your favorite. Once again, thanks for watching and hope to see you at our next video.